For 8 years, the boy touched his ear. Every doctor said the same thing: nothing we can do. His father spent millions, flew across the world, begged specialists to look again. They all shrugged. Then a maid noticed something no one else did. And what she found inside that child's ear will leave you speechless. Oliver Hart was a billionaire. Private jets, mansions, more money than most people see in 10 lifetimes. But his son Sean was born deaf. 8 years old, never heard a sound. Oliver tried everything: Johns Hopkins, Switzerland, Tokyo, specialists who charged thousands per hour. They ran tests, scans, procedures. All of them said the same thing: irreversible, accept it. But Oliver couldn't accept it, because Sean was all he had left. His wife died giving birth to that boy. So Oliver kept searching, kept spending, kept begging God for an answer. What he didn't know: the answer wasn't coming from a hospital. It was coming from the woman he'd just hired to clean his floors. Victoria was a maid. 27, no degree, no credentials. Just a woman trying to pay her grandmother's nursing home bills. But she noticed something about Sean that every specialist had missed. Something in his ear. Something dark. And one evening, while Oliver was away, she made a decision that would either save that boy's life or destroy her own. What happened next? I need you to see it for yourself. Before we continue, hit subscribe, like this video, and tell me in the comments where in the world you're watching from. I believe this story found you today for a reason. The Hart Mansion stretched across 40 acres of Connecticut land. From the outside, it looked like a dream: Georgian columns, windows that sparkled in the sunlight, gardens trimmed to perfection. But inside? Silence. Not the peaceful kind, not the kind that feels like rest. This silence was heavy, thick, like something had died and no one had buried it yet. Servants moved through the hallways without speaking. Their footsteps were soft, careful. They'd learned quickly. Mr. Hart liked things quiet. No music played in that house. No television noise. No laughter bouncing off the walls. Just silence. And somewhere in that silence, a father was drowning. Oliver Hart sat in his study most evenings, staring at the family portrait above the fireplace. There she was, Catherine, his wife. Her smile frozen in oil paint, her eyes still bright, still alive. Next to her, a younger version of himself, looking hopeful, looking whole. And between them, Sean, 3 years old in the portrait, before Oliver understood that his son would never hear his mother's name. Catherine died the day Sean was born. Complications, the doctors called it. Too much bleeding, too little time. Oliver held her hand while the light left her eyes. She'd been trying to say something. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. Just like their son, Oliver never forgave himself. If he'd chosen a different hospital, if he'd demanded better care, if he'd been paying closer attention, maybe she'd still be here. Maybe Sean would be different. The guilt sat on his chest like a stone he couldn't lift. So he did the only thing he knew how to do. He spent money. Millions of dollars, the best specialists on earth, flights across oceans, hotels that cost more per night than most people earned in a month. Every doctor said the same thing: your son's deafness is congenital. There's nothing we can do. You need to accept this. Accept it? How could he accept that his boy would live in silence forever? How could he accept that Sean would never hear his father say, "I'm sorry your mother isn't here"? So Oliver kept searching, kept writing checks, kept hoping that somewhere out there, someone had the answer. He didn't realize the answer wasn't coming from a specialist. It was coming from someone he'd never think to look at twice. Someone who was about to walk through his front door with nothing but faith in her heart and bills she couldn't pay. Her name was Victoria, and she was about to change everything. Victoria Dyer arrived on a Tuesday morning in October. The sky was grey, the kind of grey that makes everything feel heavier than it should. She stood at the gate of the Hart estate, clutching her bag with both hands, trying to steady her breathing. This was it. Her last chance. Back in Newark, her grandmother was lying in a nursing home bed. The bills were piling up on Victoria's kitchen table like a tower she couldn't stop from growing. 3 months behind. That's what the letter said. If she didn't pay, they'd transfer her grandmother to a state facility, the kind of place where people were forgotten, where no one held your hand, where you became a number instead of a name. Victoria couldn't let that happen. Her grandmother had raised her, took her in after her parents died in a car accident when Victoria was 11, fed her when there was nothing in the fridge, prayed over her when life felt impossible. That woman deserved better than a cold room and strangers who didn't care. So Victoria took this job, maid at a billionaire's mansion. She didn't care about the fancy address, didn't care about the wealthy family. She just needed the paycheck. The head housekeeper, Mrs. Patterson, met her at the door. Stern face, sharp eyes, the kind of woman who noticed everything and forgave nothing. "You're Victoria?" "Yes, ma'am." "You'll clean, you'll stay quiet, you'll keep to yourself. Mr. Hart doesn't like disruptions, especially around his son." Victoria nodded. "I understand." "Do you?" Because the last girl didn't. She tried to get too friendly with the boy, thought she could help. She was gone within a week. Victoria swallowed. "I'm just here to work, ma'am." Mrs. Patterson studied her for a long moment, then nodded. "Good, follow me." As they walked through the mansion, Victoria kept her eyes down, but she couldn't help noticing things. The silence, so thick it felt alive. The way the other servants moved without speaking, without smiling. The heaviness that hung in the air like fog that wouldn't lift. And then she saw him. A small boy sitting on the marble staircase, arranging toy cars in a perfect line. He didn't look up, didn't acknowledge anyone. His shoulders were hunched, his movements careful, precise. But what caught Victoria's attention was something else. The way he kept touching his right ear. Just briefly, almost like a habit. And the tiny wince that crossed his face each time he did. Victoria's chest tightened. She'd seen that look before. She didn't say anything, just kept walking. But her heart whispered something she couldn't ignore. Pay attention. Days passed. Victoria cleaned floors, wiped windows, folded linens. She kept her head down like Mrs. Patterson told her. But she couldn't stop watching Sean. Every morning, same routine. The boy would sit alone in the sunroom, surrounded by model airplanes and puzzle pieces. His world was small, contained, safe. No one bothered him there. The other servants avoided him, not out of cruelty, out of fear, like his silence was something they might catch. Some whispered that the boy was cursed, that losing his mother at birth had taken his hearing with her. Superstition, that's what it was. But Victoria saw something different. She saw a child who was desperately lonely, a boy who sat by windows and pressed his small hand against the glass, watching the world move without him. She saw the way he'd look at his father sometimes, when Oliver walked past without stopping, and how his little shoulders would sink just a bit lower. She saw how he touched his ear, over and over, wincing each time. And no one noticed. Or maybe they'd stopped noticing long ago. One afternoon, Victoria was dusting the hallway near the sunroom when she saw Sean struggling with a model airplane wing. His small fingers couldn't get the piece to fit. Frustration creased his face. She shouldn't interfere. Mrs. Patterson's warning echoed in her mind. But before she could stop herself, Victoria knelt down and gently took the wing. She fitted it into place with a soft click. Sean looked up at her. For a moment, they just stared at each other. Then something happened. The tiniest smile, just a flicker at the corner of his mouth. Victoria's heart cracked wide open. She smiled back, gave him a small wave. He waved in return. That night, Victoria lay in her bed thinking about that wave. Such a small thing, but it meant everything. The next morning, she left something on the stairs where Sean always sat. A folded paper bird, simple, made from scrap paper she'd found in the kitchen. She didn't wait to see if he'd take it. But the following day, the bird was gone. In its place, a note. 2 words in shaky handwriting. "Thank you." Victoria pressed that note to her chest and closed her eyes. She whispered into the quiet, "Lord, let me help this child. Show me how." She didn't know it yet, but God was already answering. And the answer would cost her everything she had. Over the next few weeks, something shifted. Victoria and Sean developed their own language. Small things, secret things. She'd leave him candy wrapped in gold foil.